Thank you so much for taking the time. It's truly our honor that you made the time to do this. You heard this morning, Margaret, Mr. Tianbang, they talked a lot about the digital business and digital transformation. I'm sure you're seeing this on a day-to-day basis. The bottom line is, if you look at Asia, Asia is actually well ahead of the rest of the world when it comes to this digital disruption. And Philippines, in specific, is actually a hub where a lot of stuff is happening. If you look at all the statistics from a Gartner report, mobile internet users is as high as 35% in the Philippines. Some of those numbers you won't even see in the most developed nations like the US, like UK, like France, like Germany, or any of those places. So it's amazing. Social media, up 47% of the population uses social media in some form, fit, or function, compared to only 40% last year. That's the kind of growth you folks are seeing in your economy itself. And I could go on. E-commerce shoppers up in this part of the world. So you are leading. And oh, by the way, here's an interesting statistic. The average person in the Philippines uses a laptop or a desktop to access the internet approximately 5.2 hours a day. That is the highest in the world. Brazil is the only other country across the globe that's at that rate. So you guys are on the forefront of this digital disruption, and that's awesome. That's incredible, because half of my job, honestly, is to convince customers that if you are not going to be the disruptor in this new economy, you are gonna get disrupted. Look at Uber, look at Netflix, look at Airbnb. The largest hotel chain in the whole world does not own a single hotel. The largest taxi company in the whole world does not own a single taxi. That's the kind of disruption we're talking about. It's massive. You add that on to some of the statistics you see here, what's happening around data and the amount of data we're generating as a population in general is amazing. It's unprecedented, and it's only going to grow. It's only going to grow. You look at security and the threats, the new threats that have evolved, sponsored threats. They put your businesses at risk. They put your organizations at risk. You take the whole digital disruption that we talked about, marry them with everything is going on here. You have a completely different new style of IT that's going to manifest itself. That is manifesting itself as we speak. So where do you start? Well, for one, you have to create your own future. Here's an interesting statistic. Last year at VMworld, 2015, August, Pat Gelsinger, the CEO of VMware, was on stage. And he made an amazing point. He said, everybody look around you. 25% of you in this audience will not be working for the same company in the next 5 years because that company is going to go out of business. That's how fast the pace is. Think about that. 1 out of every 4 companies is no longer going to exist because it's going to get disrupted through the digital business. You have to be able to create your own future. The second piece here, be a champion to drive innovation. I'll give you an example, which is near and dear to me. 2006, Dell was at crossroads. All customers perceived us as a box provider. And there was no differentiation left. And low-cost leadership was becoming more and more difficult. So what did we do? Michael used technology as an innovation engine. He used technology to drive virtualization, cloud, and all of those pieces. He saved approximately $1.8 billion in R&D. And he repurposed that money to go acquire multiple assets so that we could move from being a box provider to an end-to-end solutions company. That's a great example of how you use IT as an effective engine to drive that innovation. And the last point here, technology in the go-forward model is always going to be at the center of value creation. I was speaking to the CIO of Coca-Cola. Think about Coca-Cola. 2 operations, bottling and syrup manufacturing. Coke and all of the products. They had a huge challenge. Japan, specifically. I don't know how many of you know this, but the Japanese market literally wants new flavors every 6 months. And the way Coke was designed, they just could not possibly produce new syrups and test them at that fast a cycle. So Coke used big data and data analytics as a solution to be able to drive that innovation engine so that they could test from an R&D standpoint new syrups, new flavors on a 6-month cycle and be successful in a market like Japan. That's a great example of what you would traditionally call a brick and mortar company that has embraced this digital disruption and is leveraging technology for value creation for the products and services they deliver to their customers. Where's Dell's strategy? 4 things, 4 key things, right from the workforce in terms of increasing productivity to the data center in terms of making it more agile. Everybody is mobile today. The workforce is fully transitioning. There are a lot of young folks in this audience. You guys want a different way of working. You want more flexibility. You want more mobility, and that increases your productivity. The second piece, be more informed. Big data is critical. Information can be used as true value creation if you can enhance it. The biggest challenge with big data is when you see all of these disparate applications, how do you bring them together so that you have one cohesive place that you can put analytics on top of? Agility. I don't know how many CIOs I have talked to have told me that they're unhappy with application delivery time. They're unhappy with how long it takes IT to be able to set up an application and get it running for users. And that's why you're seeing shadow IT. You're seeing business owners going and picking up cloud services independent of IT. And that's causing huge problems. So the goal is get your data center more agile. And lastly, security is always going to be key, because there are going to be threats. Last year alone, in the US, the total security threats put a burden of approximately $200 billion because of wasted time and lost business due to security issues. That's how critical security has become in this go-forward world. Let's talk about how Dell delivers this mobility, the information, the agility, and security differently. If you think about it, we think of the world. There are 4 different types of vendors. One is predominantly based on risk platforms. The biggest problem with risk and Unix environments, they work, don't get me wrong. They absolutely work for the application you're trying to drive. I'll be the first one to say that. However, access to innovation becomes a huge problem. Let me give you an example. Flash. Simple example. Flash on storage. 4 years ago, Flash on storage was available at $16 a gig. 16 US dollars a gig. Today, with the launch of the new Dell SC series, Flash is available at 45 cents a gig. That's what 4 years has done. $16 a gig to 45 cents a gig. Now imagine if you were locked into a proprietary system that did not give you access to that innovation. You'd still be paying so much more for fundamental concepts in your data center. That is the greatest problem with proprietary risk platforms. The second group of folks are these new proprietaries. They're standards-based. They're based on x86 architecture. However, they lock you in. UCS, Cisco, great example. To go deploy UCS, you need new cables. You need new racks. You need new servers. Even their networking switches, if you were on Catalyst, they won't work. You got to move to Nexus. The problem there also is the notion of a lockup. You invest in those technologies, you have to minimum spend 3 years running those technologies. And look at the innovation that I talked about in Flash, and that's just over a period of 4 years. That's the greatest problem with locking yourself in. The next set of vendors are these new, low-cost providers. They're definitely inexpensive solutions. There's no question about it. The biggest challenge, though, with those solutions is the fact that the burden of managing, deploying that entire environment moves to the customer. So although your acquisition cost might be low, the cost of running these systems becomes extremely high. Who's going to do patch management? Who's going to do simple systems management? Who's going to do all the upgrades? The operating system upgrades. That burden is left on our customers. And that's where the challenge with some of those, which is why we strongly believe Dell comes at it in a very different way. If you look at the 3 vectors across capability, cost, and complexity, we try to balance them out so we can give you the greatest capability at the lowest cost and make it simple for you to go deploy these technologies in your environment. And how do we do this? Well, for one, we are truly the only end-to-end solution provider that exists in the industry today. Why is that important? Think about it. Think about a mobility solution that has to tap into the cloud. One, you got to have the right device. You got to have the right systems management on it. You have to have the right security on it. You need to have network security that takes it from the device to the cloud. And then you need the data center that gives you the cloud. and a burst capability between the private and the public cloud. Now, in that one simple example, you have a choice. You can either work with 15 different vendors to go build that out, or you can work with one or two. What is more manageable? It's much easier when one single company brings all of these capabilities to bear. So you have one single throat to choke. If something goes wrong, you know exactly who to call and how to go fix that. Modularity, standards-based, and open approach, that's critical. If you look at our storage and networking portfolios, we have embraced both software-defined storage and software-defined networking. In this day and age, why is anybody developing networking solutions on proprietary silicon? The silicon problem got solved more than 15 years ago by Intel. Why do you pay for proprietary silicon? You have software-defined networking where you can literally take a one-socket rack server, put the right operating system on it, and convert it into a switch. And guess what? Your people, you in this room, the one piece of technology I can guarantee you you're most comfortable with is x86 architectures, because they are open and standards-based. And that's where the Dell advantage comes into play. And we provide these in many different manners. We have a very balanced approach. We build. We're going to have a session later on Converge where you will see the FX2, a classic example of where we build a converged platform so you can congregate server, storage, networking into one single console and be able to manage it. We partner. Today we're going to launch the Dell Microsoft hybrid cloud system. Great example of where we partnered with Microsoft to give you both public and private cloud capabilities. And lastly, we acquire. I don't think anybody has any doubts about our acquisition strength. We just announced a pretty massive acquisition with EMC. I hope you've heard of it. Yeah? So that's how we approach this whole innovation engine. Because again, we fundamentally believe this is not the 1970s where IBM used to be the only innovation engine in the whole market. Today, innovation is coming from everywhere. Look at companies like Nutanix. Look at companies like Nexenta. Small, tiny, $100, $200, $300 million companies driving valuations of $2, $3 billion. That's where innovation is coming from. And those are the folks you need to be open to partner with to be able to drive a comprehensive set of solutions for our customers. So what are the components? And I'm going to go through each one of these. The first one is the future-ready data center, with the notion of providing greater agility for our customers. The second is the future-ready workforce, with the notion of being able to make your workforce more productive. And the third piece is security, being able to let you adopt any technology you want, but ensure that your ecosystem is absolutely secure, end-to-end. So let's walk into the first one, the future-ready data center, and this notion of agility. There are 5 key things we drive in the future-ready data center. 1, all of our pieces are workload ready. Look, you don't buy servers for the sake of buying servers. You buy servers to run workloads. So the more we integrate with the workload, the easier it is for you to deploy and manage those servers in your environment. Virtual ready. Virtualization is an incredibly strong concept, but we see a lot of customers hitting the wall at 20% virtualization, 30%, 40% virtualization. The biggest challenge with virtualization is that it added another systems management arm for you. So what we have done is try to integrate all of our server storage and networking with Hyper-V, with VMware, so that you can deploy virtualization a lot easier in your environments. Software-defined, I already talked about software-defined networking and software-defined storage. We give you the choice. If you want an FTOS business in networking, we have that option. However, if you want to take an open approach, we've got software-defined networking. If you want metadata-specific solutions, we've got that on storage. However, if you want software-defined storage, we have partnerships with VMware on VxRail and with Nutanix on that suite of software-defined storage. Cloud. I think a lot of people are adopting cloud in a big way. However, the only key message there is use a balanced approach. Not every application is right for the public cloud. You have to use a balanced approach. However, the key in that balanced approach is you have to be able to stitch a public cloud to a private cloud. And that's critical for the functioning of that entire ecosystem. And lastly, big data. Big data is powerful. I can go through a ton of examples of companies that have innovatively used big data. And I'm not just talking about retail, airlines, hospitality. Coke was the example I used. Coke's not in any of those businesses. I'm not going to walk through all of these, but these are all the solutions Dell has. And there's a specific breakout on blueprints later today that if you want to know a better idea of how we deliver cohesive end-to-end solutions with a massive partner community and bring it all to bear, that would be a great session to go to. Now, we talked about future ready, the notion of future ready. Here's an interesting research we did. 2,000 customers across the globe. We partnered with IDC. And we asked those customers, where are you in terms of truly being able to adopt transformative digital disruption technologies like cloud, like big data, like mobility? Here's what the data told us. Only 18% of the customers globally have truly embraced these transformative technologies. The rest of the customers are on a path of doing so. You, each and every one of you personally, have to think about this digital disruption. You have to think about where you stand on this continuum. And we can help you get to whatever place you want to get to. That's the future-ready data center. Let's talk a little about the future-ready workforce and how we can improve productivity. You guys know this. The workforce is transforming. The workplace is revolutionizing. How many of you here have traditional cubes and only work in your cube and don't ever work at a coffee shop or an airline lounge or anywhere? Practically nobody. Everybody is working all the time. And that's putting a lot of pressure on the tools we are using in the go-forward model. We take a very balanced approach. One, we want to address the top IT concerns. Security and manageability when it comes to clients. From a security standpoint, Dell Data Protection and encryption can encrypt absolutely everything from your device to external media to the cloud and the whole path between. From a manageability standpoint, when it came to BIOS updates, we were 75% better than Lenovo. We can do BIOS updates for your environment in 13 seconds. So we focused on the two key challenges. Devices that are desired by end users. CES, the famous Las Vegas show. We won 45 awards this year. 9 of them were innovation awards. More than HP, more than Lenovo. And lastly, we tailor the solutions depending upon what type of user you are. We did research. These are the 5, 6 different types of users we see, right from a desk-centric environment, right to a specialized user. And in the middle are all the folks who are extremely mobile. And we tailored the solutions. You see things like 2-in-1s. You didn't see that 2 years ago. Those are what we are designing to make sure, depending upon your use case, we have you covered. The Dell difference, we're easiest to choose. With Smart Select, for Smart Select, we literally take feedback from 2 billion customer conversations yearly. And any of the Smart Select options ship within 24 hours. Easiest to buy. I'm sure there's a lot of channel partners in the room, or you as end users work with a lot of channel partners. Whether you want to work with a channel partner, whether you want a Premier page of your own, however you want to buy these devices, we can give them to you. And lastly, easiest to own. That's critical. Companies that have 5, 10, 15, 20,000 devices, the patch upgrades, the OS upgrades, all of those pieces become really complicated. With ProSupport Plus, we can deliver a much better ownership and manageability experience for our customers. That was the future-ready workforce. The last piece, security. When we talk to customers, 2 types of security. I talked about the Dell data protection and encryption. That can encrypt absolutely everything. That stuff you can do. But we also have a managed security arm through SecureWorks. And the SecureWorks counter threat unit manages 150 billion cyber events daily and can get in front of any threat that can be posed to your organization. Comprehensive set of security solutions depending upon how you want to deploy security for your environments. And lastly, the support, whether it's through a channel partner or through Dell directly, around consulting, managing, and deploying all of these solutions in your environment. We have a comprehensive set of solutions that enable you to adopt these technologies, to adopt these transformative technologies so that you can be a disruptor as opposed to being disrupted in the future. To sum up, there's a massive acquisition which is pending. We're very close. As you might know, Dell got into an agreement with EMC to acquire EMC. With the acquisition of EMC, we can take all of these capabilities I talked about, and we can increase them tenfold in terms of the support and the capabilities that we can bring to our customers. Again, thank you so much for taking the time. I'm going to be around. If you have any questions, please feel free to approach me. Thank you.